Γεια σας, καλημέρα. Με λένε Στάλο. Today we are going to talk about the participle in Greek. The Greek word is ημετοχή. Ημετοχή, which comes from the verb μετέχω, to participate. The participle participates in nouns and verbs. What that means is that it has characteristics both of the nouns, gender, case, number, and of the verbs, tense, voice. There are two main types in modern Greek. The active voice participle, which is the present tense active participle, and the passive voice participle, which is the past tense, or to be more exact, the present perfect tense passive participle. The first type, the active voice participle, is indeclinable. It doesn't change. We form it by adding the endings ondas or ondas to the present tense stem. For example, for the group A verbs, the verbs that end in omega with no accent on the omega, like παίζω, when we take away the ending o, omega, we are left with the stem, in this case, πες. We attach the ending ondas to the stem and we get παίζοντας. Another example, τρώγω, τρώγοντας. Διαβάζει, τρώγοντας. The same way for the group B verbs, the verbs that end in omega with the accent on the omega, like τραγουδώ. When we take away the ending o, we are left with the stem, in this case τραγούδ. We attach the ending ondas and we get τραγουδώντας. Another example, κρατώ, κρατώντας. Εργάζομαι, τραγουδώντας. Something to remember here is that for the group A verbs, the ondas has no accent on the o, and we spell it with omicron. Παίζοντας, τρώγοντας. While for the group B verbs, the ondas has an accent on the o and we spell it with omega. Τραγουδώντας, κρατώντας. Here is the active voice participle of the auxiliary verbs έχω and είμαι. The participle for έχω is έχοντας and the participle for είμαι is ondas. They follow the same rule, but just remember that because είμαι is an irregular verb, ondas is spelled with omicron even though the accent is on the o. Έφυγα έχοντας μόνο 2 βιβλία. Όντας κοντά, τρέξαμε και τον βοηθήσαμε. The passive voice participle is declined like adjectives ending in os, e, o. In fact, the passive participle functions as an adjective. We form it by adding the endings μένος, μένει, μένω to the past tense stem. For example, ντύνομαι, ντυμένος. Δένομαι, δεμένος. Κουράζομαι, κουρασμένος. Αφοσιώνομαι, αφοσιωμένος. Είμαι πολύ κουρασμένη. Here we have the feminine singular form of the participle. Τα χέρια μας είναι δεμένα. And here we have the neuter plural form of the participle. Now let's see what steps you have to take in order to form the passive voice participle. As we mentioned earlier, we add the endings menos, many, meno to the past tense stem. So let's take a verb in the active voice, dino. This is the active voice. I dress someone or something. Dínome is the passive voice. I get dressed. Ντύθηκα is the past tense in the passive voice. I got dressed. Ika is the ending of the past tense in the passive voice. So if we take away the ending ika, we are left with the stem, dith. So dith is the past tense passive stem. So we have the past tense passive stem, dith. We take away the last consonant, theta, and you are left with d. To this d, we add the endings menos, many, meno, and we get διμένος, διμένη, διμένο, dressed. The same with the verb αγαπώ, which is a group B verb. Dino was a group A verb. So αγαπώ is the active voice, αγαπιέμαι is the passive voice, αγαπήθηκα is the past tense in the passive voice, and αγαπημένος is a participle. So we've seen that if the past tense passive stem ends in theta, we add menos, many, meno. Ντύθηκα, ντυμένος. And other examples, αγαπημένος, δεμένος, μορφωμένος. If it ends in sigma taf, we add smenos with a sigma in front of menos. Smenos, sμένη, σμένο. So, κουράστηκα, κουρασμένος, not κουραμένος. You need that sigma, κουρασμένος. Φωτισμένος, στολισμένος, διαβασμένος. If it ends in phi, taf, then we add to me, menos, many, meno. So, κρύφτηκα, phi, taf, κρυμμένος, with to me, not just one. And you can also use this rule. We use to me when the present tense stem of group A verbs ends in P, vita, or phi. For example, ράβω, σκάβω, γράφω, βάφω, εγκαταλείπω. And finally, if it ends in he, taf, we add γμένος with a gamma in front of menos. So, γμένος, γμένη, γμένο. Βουτήχτηκα, χι, ταφ, βουτυγμένος. Χαραγμένος, πνιγμένος. There are a few exceptions, and we can be learning those as we come across them. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Ευχαριστώ. Γεια σας.